So you decide to go camping with your significant other. You see a bear off in the distance. You win, but the bear gets a few good licks in. Well, we got medic Zack Shaw here. He's going to teach me a few wilderness first aid basics. So Zack, I brought you today because you're a former Marine, 12 deployments as a private contractor, and almost 2 decades as a medic. Now, I haven't been camping in forever. I go hiking a good bit, but I never think about keeping a first aid kit with me. But I want to know what you would bring, because the bot stores will sell you anything from alien repellent to snake bite kits, and what do they have or don't have that you would recommend for my own personal kit?
My personal kit over the last 20 years has kind of gotten refined down to just a few things that have double uses. Like I have gauze in here that's full of Vaseline, petroleum jelly. Not only will it close a hole in your chest, but you can also start a fire with it.
And I assume you keep other bigger bandages for twisted ankles and that sort of thing.
I do. I have an ace bandage, a small roll of cling, a triangular bandage, and a roll of Curlix. The Curlix is is one of the greatest things ever invented. It's got multiple uses, from packing a wound to wrapping it. I've made a makeshift cast out of one of these. You can also fluff it up and use it as tinder to start a fire.
So what else you keep in here?
Well, I've got skin glue, 2 different kinds, one in a brush and one that's actually sterile in case the wound is deeper and I don't want to keep whatever nastiness is in there. And I can clean it out and then use the sterile glue.
Everybody keeps Band-Aids and that sort of thing, but do you keep anything particular, special from your experience? Obviously you see like Rambo has his needle and thread. Do you keep that sort of thing with you? And would I need something like that?
I do actually. I keep 4 different kinds of sutures in my kit, but I don't think someone without the experience or training how to use it should have something that they can break the skin with.
I might fix a hole in my shirt or something.
Well, that would be needle and thread, not a suture.
I assume you keep insect repellent or anything like that in your kit, or some for poison ivy, or?
Actually, I have these Bug X insect repellent towels that I can use. I've got some Ditch the Itch cream. It's basically just a cream to stop itching. As far as poison ivy, I just use an alcohol pad that I've got a few of in here. Nope, over here. That I can use to wipe off the oil from those plants.
Okay.
I also have a tube of Baxitracin, and everything in it is written in Arabic, but it's Baxitracin.
And you keep aspirin and that sort of thing?
Actually, I only have acetaminophen. I keep in a little tin.
Okay.
But they're 500 milligram capsules that you can take a lot of. But the best thing for a snake bite is just put what's called a constricting band, not a tourniquet, but a constricting band around the limb. It's in there, I promise. Around the limb to keep the blood from flowing back as fast as it would without it. What you see in the movies where you cut the axe and suck the poison out, it's pointless. It causes more damage than it does good, and you're going to introduce a whole lot of infections just from putting your mouth on an open wound.
Right.
The venom is already in the system once you've been bitten.
So like at the big bot stores, they'll sell you just a gigantic kit of everything. What did they have too much of?
Well, they generally have like 125 Band-Aids and 2 skin cleaning towels. So I don't have nearly that many Band-Aids, but I do have 4 or 5 of these antibacterial hand wipes.
Right. Now, worrying about something like dehydration or even hypothermia or something. We're here in the Southeast, so there's not too bad of cold nights here that we worry about hypothermia as much.
It does not have to be below freezing to get hypothermia. There's
Okay.
a lot of stories of scoutmasters who, on their way up a mountain, would start taking clothes off in the middle of winter. And it wasn't until it was almost irreversible that they realized they had hypothermia.
Okay.
And were able to do something for them.
So if we're going to do a demonstration, I think we need an assistant. Hey, Miss.
Hey, guys.
All right, well, let's real quick go through a couple different ways to wrap an ankle, depending on how you roll it, how you sprain it, or whether or not it's broken. All right, so there's two ways that an ankle is going to roll, to the inside or to the outside. And depending on which way it rolls and how much hair you have on your socks is where you want to wrap it. For instance, if you roll it to the inside, you're going to want to pull your ankle back to the outside when you wrap it, which means you start on the inside.
So you're pulling the force this
and you're
way.
pulling it back to the outside. After you get it wrapped, you want to be able to make sure she still has blood flow to her, toes and the rest of her foot. So you want to watch her toes to make sure the toenail doesn't lose its pinkness, doesn't turn white.
Okay.
You want to make sure it doesn't get too cold after you wrap it, which means there's not enough blood flow going to it. And if it does, unwrap it and wrap it again looser.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give it a shot. You can talk me through it a little bit.
Go ahead.
So I twist my ankle this way a lot. So so I'm starting.
So if you're twisting it to the inside, you're going to want to wrap the strength to the outside, which means you start just like that.
Okay, and not too tight.
You don't want to pull it too tight. You want to make sure that the blood's still able to flow. Once you get that first one around, come on up to the top.
Okay. And the wrinkles don't matter.
The wrinkles don't matter. Now just start making that X.
Okay.
Because that's where your strength comes from. Let's talk about immobilizing an arm, just in case you get that break or a bad sprain somewhere in your shoulder or elbow, or even your wrist, and you don't want it flopping around. You want to be able to secure that arm to where you can get out as comfortably and as quickly as possible, which means you want to put it in a position of comfort, which is right here. So if you want to hold her arm just like that, as if she couldn't, you want to support the bottom.
Okay.
And this is where that triangle bandage we talked about comes in. You can use it to wrap your head. You can use it to dry things off. But what it's made for is securing an arm in place, just like this. And you want to get it covering as much of her forearm as possible. Just like that. And you can tie just 2 overhand knots in the back to make sure it's not going to slip and get out of place. And now our arm's up and down, stabilized, but you still have to worry about front and back, which is where that Curlix we talked about comes in. I mean, it can be used for a lot of things, but what I generally use it most for is securing limbs in place. And once you get the up and down with the triangle bandage secured, you just start wrapping this around to keep the forward and backwards motion of the arm from happening. And now she can get out of the woods, back to vehicles and back to the hospital without doing more damage to her arm as comfortably as possible.
Okay.
And if you don't have the triangle, you can always take a t-shirt off and cut it up the side and open it up, and you can do the same thing with that.
Okay. So I guess I don't need my sewing kit anymore, but I better hold on to it anyway, just in case I split my pants, or you just never know what'll happen on my shoes. But seriously, I can be going across flat pavement to my car and twist my ankle on a dime. And I'm glad Zach was here to kind of show me how to wrap my ankle correctly, you know, when I have future injuries. I want to thank him for coming on, and I learn something every time I speak with him. But you guys make sure you like, subscribe, or even comment on our assistant's hairy socks if you want to. But just remember to follow me in that natural.